Rainbow Six recently had the Operation Shadow Legacy patch launch completely out of the blue, and it's bringing a lot of new core gameplay changes that Ubisoft promises are not the last that we will be seeing soon. Foremost among them are a new assortment of scopes, a shared pool of reinforcements, a new hard breach secondary gadget, and a ping system that's got the whole competitive community all sorts of riled up. Also listed in the patch is a Maverick buff giving him 1 additional blowtorch canister, Thatcher getting a significant nerf, and it's all beginning to beg the question, is this change in the skill gap better or worse for Siege at a competitive level? What this is doing is it's making the game a little easier for people who aren't as familiar with its mechanics and meta to get into it. Having more Maverick canisters means you have more wiggle room if you make a mistake on a Mav trick. Having the hard breach gadget means you don't have to devote operator picks to specific hard breach ones. Having a ping system that enables you to ping from cameras without scanning the room for enemies suddenly changes the landscape of the game. Before, that wasn't a thing. You couldn't ping on drones unless you were scanning an enemy and they would know that their position had been given away, but now you're able to Z-ping or yellow ping from any camera, drone or not, and provide a kind of instantaneous, uncounterable intel. And it's already beginning to make itself manifest in pro play. Take this round from Oxygen versus Tempo Storm last night in the North American League, and we'll break it all down in a second.
Jarvis was the one from Tempo that ended up going down, but as far as I can remember, he was never committed to this, so he must have died through some other circumstance. May have tried to make a play or something. Another one for the VOD. Mark, he's got right timing on this, but no, the pre-fire coming in from the hatch. Didn't know he had already been spotted out.
All right, first thing, when Mark is checking for a drone under the chair and rips the nitro, he's not exposing himself to the window peek from Biologic's Twitch just outside. At first glance, you might think Bio has the intel on Mark's position from the sound of the nitro's Velcro, but then Slash comes from around the red hatch, wall bangs exactly on Mark's location, then goes right back to droning, revealing the position of one that he had set up in Cigar. In the clip, you can also hear 2 yellow ping sounds that help give Slash the exact mark he needs for the pre-fire.
Jarvis was the one from Tempo that ended up going down, but as far as I can remember, he was never committed to this, so he must have died through some other circumstance. May have tried to make a play or something. Another one for the VOD. Mark.
And even if the intel he received wasn't from the drone in Cigar, that still looks like too precise of a shot for it to have come from anything aside from the Z-ping. Mark's position was identified correctly because of intel he didn't know was there. And you might say, well, that's how people get kills in Siege anyway. Yes, but now imagine that it's not Slash Hug on top of the red hatch making that kill. It's instead a complete team of Silvers who have zero communication, and you're wondering exactly how they had a perfect mark on you when they clearly don't possess the kind of skill level to do that. That's kind of what we're leaning into more. Now, it's safe to say that the introduction of systems that make Siege easier to play is more for the casual community than for the competitive one. Give newer or less experienced players more hand-holding or more chances to get things wrong as they understand the game's nuances and level of difficulty. We call this lowering the skill gap. If we keep using the example of Z-ping on cameras, you now don't have to have as much communication to convey a callout. If you see a piece of utility or an enemy player and you have a camera in the correct position, you can just yellow ping its location without even knowing the correct call, and that's already enough information for your teammates to get the gist of it. You don't even have to talk to your teammates at all, though in competitive settings, I would hope that's not the case, but it does kind of open the door for it. Just imagine a completely silent team that doesn't use comms and only pings. Not gonna lie, that would be slightly terrifying, which I suppose could make things a little more balanced if you're trying to communicate with other players who don't speak the same language, but for near everyone in North America especially, it just looks like free intel. In a blog post from yesterday, Ubisoft mentioned their core gameplay philosophy is to mirror the casual and competitive experiences in as many aspects as possible to, quote, make the learning curve reliable and the overall experience enjoyable. I'd argue that the ping system, at the very least, is not consistent with that exact value. And I'm not even talking about the fact that you can ping gadgets or utility on drones. That's a separate thing, and I can more live with that, but the yellow Z ping on cameras is a crutch. It's for teams who don't communicate as effectively to have another chance to make a round impact, probably when they don't deserve it, or at the very least, it opens up the door for that. It's also easy for newer players to think that knowing callouts or getting all of the intel you need yourself is an unnecessary step to take, and when you're playing at high levels of Siege competitively, what excuse do you have for not putting in the work? A crutch. One that puts in more work for you than it probably should. That is most assuredly no bueno. The argument about catering to a casual or competitive player base is one we're going to keep on having until the end of time. It's a literal, never-ending debate. But when there is intel on the field that is uncounterable and players on the wrong side of that intel don't know their positions have been given away, there's potential for this kind of core balancing philosophy to alienate a good portion of the people who play this game professionally. I understand Ubisoft's want to make the game easier for those who aren't as familiar with it, but if I'm being honest, I don't know if this helps more than this hurts. But as somebody who spends near all of his time focusing on one side of the coin, if you're on the other and you play or observe the game more casually and don't see the big deal of Ubi lowering the skill gap, let me know in the comments and we can talk about it in more detail. It's only been in the game for a little bit, but time will tell if that was the right addition or not. That's all from me. The NAL unexpectedly kicked off this week, but Europe is still set to go next week, and we also got the news that North American Challenger League will be getting streamed as opposed to just VOD coverage, so hopefully more news on that comes to light very soon. Please hit up my Twitter, my Twitch, and this YouTube channel for more in the coming days. Please and thank you, and I will see you later.